Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube, and I have a video here about a new TV series called Colony. I recently watched the first episode, and as soon as I was about halfway through the episode, I realized I needed to make a video about this show. Primarily because it's a new television show that's really pushing this New World Order agenda. And this isn't the first TV show to do this. I want to show you a few examples. But over the last few years, we continually see the same stories played out time and time again in movies and TV shows. Now there's a handful of different subjects that we keep seeing them play out, and I've covered the other subjects in many of my other videos. But in this particular video, we're going to focus on that New World Order agenda, or what I call the beast system. And in this new television series, Colony, we see it play out very much as the predictive programming and or social engineering that it is. We see every aspect of the New World Order agenda at play here. Before I actually get into the show, we can cover just some basic symbols around the show. And this right here is one. It's just a press picture from Comic-Con, but I've covered Comic-Con symbolism in other videos in the past. But if you take a look at it right there, it's obviously the all-seeing eye. And that's appropriate for Comic-Con. It's appropriate that we would find the all-seeing eye of the Illuminati or of the beast system on Comic-Con. Because Comic-Con is all about creating idols. It's about creating idol worship. And we see this right now with generation upon generation of man and woman, full-grown adults, who are in a form of arrested development. We have these full-grown adults who are still clinging on to these childish ideas, who still play with dolls or still dress up like their favorite superheroes. So when looking at it through that lens, we can see just how effective that mind control is. It's at work, not just behind Comic-Con, but behind that whole industry in general. I also found this picture of Josh Holloway. He's one of the main characters in Colony. Of course, he was also in a TV series called Lost many years ago. And this right here is from a show he starred in called Intelligence, and here he is doing the all-seeing eye symbolism that we see so many of these celebrities do. Something else I thought was interesting when it comes to Colony and symbolism is right here you can see they're doing the red and the blue. Now I've covered the red and the blue symbolism in lots of other videos, and so have other researchers out there as well. The red and the blue can represent the pillars of Freemasonry, but we need to look a little bit further beyond that to see where it originated. So in this case, it can be seen very simply and very literally as the side of God or the side of the devil, the red or the blue. And once again, I've covered this in other videos, other people have as well. This red and blue symbolism, or the choice of the red and the blue, shows up in everything. There's something else I wanted to cover before I start getting into Colony a little more, and that's the synchronicity behind a lot of this entertainment, a lot of movies and TV shows. They'll come out around the same time that real events are actually mirroring these events in our lives. Colony is certainly not alone in pushing forth a lot of the propaganda that it seems to be, and I'm going to cover a few more examples of that in a moment. But this right here is just another example of how these shows seem to synchronize with real-life events. Just over the last year or so, there were a few movies that came out, White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen, about attacks on the White House. But at the same time, if you think back, especially over 2015, there were several of these instances. There were several instances of people literally climbing the fence and getting caught by Secret Service on White House grounds. There was even this tragic case of this lady that seemingly went crazy, although I'm sure there's much more to the story there, and she wound up driving her car up there to the White House and getting pretty crazy, and ultimately getting shot. And that's just one example of the unusual synchronicities that play out often with our entertainment, our movies and TV shows, and our real lives. And there's a few ways to look at that. I tend to look at these things through the spiritual, as if we're being told something or warned about something. On the other hand, this is a tactic by the elite called revelation of the method. So this is a way for them to get their ideas out of the minds of the public without being so upfront about it. So this is their way of putting out their agenda, their narrative, these New World Order ideas. This is the way they get this into our minds and into our realities. They do it subtly. This is the occult we're dealing with, so it's hidden before our very eyes. So the basic plot behind the colony is that there's some unknown force that apparently has built an entire wall around the Los Angeles area, and apparently there's other colonies out there as well. So they've created these colonies. Now, as for where these people are from or who they are, that's still kind of a mystery in the very beginning of the show. But the idea is that the planet has been occupied by these people or these things, and they control these various colonies in different ways. One of the ways is right here. They use these all-seeing eye drones. They also use our own people against us. They use our neighbors, our friends, our family. Everybody's turning against one another. So they'll find certain people in these colonies and they'll turn them. They'll turn them against their own people. This guy right here you're looking at on the left side of the screen is a governor, is what they call him. So he's a governor for this particular colony. And he's the middleman between the people in the colony, the people who are trapped, and the people who put them there. And again, they maintain the mystery. Nobody's seen these people or beings yet. Nobody really knows who they are. But this, again, is a very common idea that there will be two classes, basically, a well-off and then a working poor. And in colony, they don't have cell phones. It seems like most people don't have electricity. There's no more monetary system either. That's another one of those things they keep putting out there. And of course, that's another part of the New World Order agenda, right? Is a cashless society. So in this show, there is no more cash. The people of the colony are basically on a barter system. But as you can see right here, there's people who are living in lofts and they have electricity and everything's going good and they have all the drinks they want and I imagine all the drugs and all the women and whatever they want, right? And as I said, that is a very common theme we see in a lot of these dystopian type movies, these end of world type movies, or dark future type movies. This is from the Hunger Games. Of course, Hunger Games is another classic example, right? New World Order agenda all throughout that series. And again, you have the two societies. You have the well-off and then you have the poor. We find that same theme in one of my all-time favorite movies, and that's They Live. Now, if you've never seen the movie They Live, please check it out. I think you can watch it for free at this point on YouTube. They Live's an amazing movie, and there's a lot of truth in that movie as well. But even in They Live, there was a character, this homeless guy. Maybe you remember him. But near the end, you find out that he had made a deal with the enemies, right? The aliens or whatever, and they gave him the good life, right? Gave him money and drinks and women and this and that, and everything was good as long as he would turn on his own kind. And I thought this imagery right here was really interesting as well. It was only on screen for a few seconds, but if you take a look right there in the posters, there's that governor. There's that guy that's working with the enemy, right? The in-betweener. And even with the symbolism there, it's interesting. They have him as the vampire, they have him as Hitler, they have him as the clown. The clown's another very common symbol associated with a lot of this Illuminati symbolism, and they also have him as a devil. As far as I'm concerned, that's a fairly sinister-looking church, wouldn't you say? And the red, black, and white has a lot of symbolism itself. Now, Rob Zombie makes a lot of blatantly satanic films, so if anybody's familiar with this symbolism or these ideas, it would be Rob Zombie. But this is an image from a new movie of his coming out called 31, and right here you can see him pushing forth this idea of a satanic aristocracy or a satanic elite. When going back a little bit in time with color coding, we look back to the red, black, and white, and we find the red, black, and white, of course, with the satanic church, but it certainly didn't originate there. Now we can go back a little bit further and we can find it with the Nazis, right? The red, black, and white with the Nazis, but it certainly didn't originate there either. If you really want to go back, the red, black, and the white originates with the Jesuits. And of course, back to the red and the blue symbolism of the red side versus the blue side. The police force on this are very much like the Nazis, as you can see right here, even the way they look. And all the people in the colony call them the Red Hats. So again, we have that red, the devil's side, versus blue, God's side. Are you a collaborator with the enemy, or are you a part of the resistance? And of course, everything that happened with the Nazis seems to be happening here in the colony as well. You'll see the police just pull up and grab innocent people as they're screaming, throw them in a truck, and drive them away. You have people turning on each other and threatening to turn each other in, so they'll have to go to the, quote, factory, and nobody in the show seems really happy about having to go to the factory. So we have our camps. They also call the force that's watching over them Homeland. So again, we have the Homeland, Homeland Security. So it's like the Nazis, right? It's like the Nazis have returned. America has been occupied by the Nazis, or a Nazi-style force. Now I just want to show you something here. I want to take you on a little bit of a trip with me and show you how I stumble into a lot of this stuff, a lot of the symbols and whatnot, and some of the synchronicities that happen with me. So as soon as I had finished watching the pilot episode of Colony on Amazon, I looked down below for any suggestions, and this is one of the shows I saw. The pyramid in the middle, of course, with the head on top, so you have the pyramid with the eye symbolism once again. We also have the red, black, and white color coding, which we find in a lot of these shows that are pushing forth similar narratives or similar ideas. So I figured I'd check it out and see what it's all about. And sure enough, I found something. I'm just going to show you a few examples here, but the whole premise of the show is that the Vice President of America is actually in charge of one secret agent. Sharon Stone plays the Vice President in this show, and they give her a key at one point, which you see her holding there, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And she goes over to a fireplace where she sees this Latin phrase. And it turns out the phrase actually means light out of darkness. So now we know the occult is at play, of course, in this very show. And this right here is the key, and this right here is the keyhole above that Latin phrase, light out of darkness. And of course, we have the Illuminati all-seeing eye. So she winds up putting the key in the keyhole, opening it, it's a secret passage. And this is where she winds up. My jaw hit the floor on this one. I mean, it's so right in your face, so right out in the open. I mean, you see all the Masonic symbolism in there. They talk about the Freemasons in this show. So basically the idea is that the Illuminati, the secret society, or these really high-level Masons, they really are the good guys and the protectors behind the scenes and in the shadows. This right here is a classic example of revelation of the method. I've talked about this for years, but all this information's coming out so fast now that they have to keep up with it. So of course now they're putting this kind of stuff out in shows, but they're trying to give it their angle, their slant. This really does play into cognitive dissonance. This is why a lot of the times when you're trying to tell people the truth about these secret societies, they roll their eyes and they're like, oh yeah, I saw Agent X. It was a cool show. But that's all a part of it. That's all a part of the psyop. So anyway, I finished watching that first episode of Agent X. There was more symbolism in there, but I think you get the gist of it from what I showed you. And the next thing I clicked on was another ad. This right here was the ad. Maybe you've seen this. So there you have it. It's the 666 right here in this ad, right in front of your face, with the red and the blue. Once again, which side do you choose, the red or the blue? And we have the 666 there. And that's not entirely uncommon. I did a video a long time back about this right here. This is from Red Bull. It's an actual Red Bull commercial. And you see right there they have the 666, and you have the lady in the red hat. So right here you have the 666, and what else do you see there? That's right, we have the red hats. The red or the blue. And then one last thing on the red, black, and white. I thought this was really interesting. There's actually a new TV show out right now. It's called The Man from High Castle, and it's from an old novel by Arthur C Clarke. It's about a twisted history. You know, what if the Nazis had actually won in World War II? What would America look like? Once again, we have this idea out there, right, of an occupation, of occupied America. And we see that idea turning up in all kinds of things. Again, just another example. This is from a TV show called Fear the Walking Dead. But in Fear the Walking Dead, it's got that same idea as well. It's an occupied America. You may have seen this in the news. Apparently the advertising department for this TV show got in some kind of trouble because they wound up putting this imagery out in New York City all over, I think, some of the subways or some of the buses. I believe they had to take it down now, but I just thought it was interesting. Look at this stuff. It's right out in the open. And we see these same themes playing out in our TV shows as well. Occupied America, right? A Nazi-style occupation. And from what we know about the New World Order, the UN's plans, this stuff isn't private, stuff they've put right out there. We know it's all about depopulation. And we know that this is very much a part of their agenda. This would be the fifth age, the last age of man, or the completed New World Order. The completed New World Order is going to be very much like a Nazi occupation. So that's the video, folks. I just want to share that with you and just show you how much we're really being programmed for this kind of stuff. It's relentless. I mean, I see it in all kinds of things, and I'm sure you folks do too. As long as you see it, as long as you're aware of it, and as long as we know what it is, it has no effect on us. That's the power of this kind of knowledge. So thanks for checking out the video, folks. Take care out there, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.